Hey y'all, I am outside on the deck potting up amaryllis for the holidays. Every year for Christmas, I like to pot up some amaryllis bulbs so that I've got blooms around the holiday. And this year I just found some at Lowe's that I thought were really beautiful. So I picked those up and right now I am potting them up. I have already done one. I've got this Guy Wolf and Company pot that I love. And it does have a hole in the bottom, so I'm putting it inside of this little metal tray. And then I went into my side yard and I dug up some of the moss on the side yard and popped that on top. I think that looks really pretty. And as this grows, I'll bring this inside. As it grows, I will probably end up providing it some type of support. I like to use just twigs and branches from outside and some string to tie it up. And let me show you what this one is going to look like. This one is called Pinkolo, and I found this at Lowe's this morning for $8.98. You can purchase specialty amaryllis bulbs online and find a much bigger selection. I have never done that, so I don't have anywhere to recommend that you purchase from. But in years past, the big box stores have typically only had the red and the white amaryllis, which to me is just a little bit too boring. I need something a little bit different. Plus I don't love the color red. So I get excited when I can find things like this in the big box store. Let me show you what I'm doing today. This is one of those cement mixing tubs from Lowe's. They're like $8 and they're just really great for when you're potting out house plants, when you're starting seeds, all of that. And what I have done is, you'll notice I purchased these without the kit, so it didn't come with the disc of Coco Loco potting medium, not Coco Loco, Coco Core potting medium that you hydrate with hot water. And I did that because I have bricks of Coco Core at home for when I start microgreens. So I rehydrated 2 bricks of the Coco Core that I had at home. And I just get my Coco Core bricks off of Amazon. And I mixed it with some Coco Loco potting mix because that's got a lot of good nutrition in it. So this is what I'm working with today. It's not too wet. I don't want to drown my amaryllis bulbs. I don't want them getting too soggy. I'm very careful not to water them too much while they're inside. And then I went scouring around the house to see what pots I already have. So I'm looking for pots that have no holes in the bottom because I want to plant them in a pot with holes so that it can drain when I water it. I do not want the roots of the amaryllis sitting in water. It'll cause the whole bulb to rot. And then another thing I did, besides finding these bulbs at Lowe's, I was planting in the yard and came across some of my amaryllis bulbs from years past. I plant them out in the ground, and I'm going to see what happens if I bring them inside. They do bloom for me outdoors after they've bloomed for me indoors. I live in North Carolina, zone 8A, and I'm able to plant them in the ground in the winter after they've bloomed. I take care to cut the bloom stalk, but I leave any of the green foliage that's still there because it's going to keep photosynthesizing and pushing energy into the bulb so that it can bloom again next year. So it's very important, if you're going to save your amaryllis bulbs, to let the leaf foliage die completely back and turn yellow before you cut it off. All right. And so I thought we would just chat while I'm out here potting up. It's been a minute since I've been on with you guys. Oh, hey, Krista. Krista is my neighbor, and I guess she just heard me as she was walking by. Amazing. Oh my gosh. Hello from the hood. That's hilarious. Okay. All right, let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill my container with enough potting soil so that the amaryllis bulb is going to sit. I don't want it to sit down low. I don't want to fill it up like this with soil. I'm going to plant it right about like this high. I'll show you. All right, so I put some soil in. See where it sits. That is pretty good. That's where we want it. All right. Then I'm going to fill in around the bulb. I'm not going to pack it in too tight. I'm going to get it so that the bulb is facing straight up, just the way I want it. But I am leaving what is called the crown of the bulb above the soil line. Okay. And then, all right, so I want to use this pot because I love it. It's another Guy Wolf. But the problem is this one has a hole in the bottom, and I don't have a cute little metal tray for it to sit in. And when I water it, water is going to come out the bottom. So one trick that I do, it's not foolproof, but it works well enough. I'm just going to take some tin foil. It's too much. There we go. And I'm going to fold it around the base of the pot so that the extra water will drain into the tin foil. Pull it down just a little bit. Perfect. There we go. And then I don't like the way leaving the exposed soil looks. Some people use those bags of colored glass you can get at the craft store. I like to dig up some moss from my side yard and place it around the plant. Actually, don't like how that piece looks. All right, it's sitting a little tall, so I need to fix my tin foil a little bit. I'm so confused. This fit perfectly earlier. There we go. All right, now there we go. Perfect. Okay, let's try this again. Sometimes I've got grass growing in the moss, and you can either leave that or you can just pull it right out. Okay, I just think that looks so much better. Perfect. Okay. And because I'm going to figure out some type of labeling, I'll probably take pictures, but until I do that, I want to remember what I have planted where. So I'm just going to snip the tag. This one is called Glee. And then for the time being, I'm just going to tuck that right in there until I can make a chart for myself. All right, the next ones I'm doing, all right, these are the ones I dug up from my yard. I already did this one. And again, I don't know if this is gonna bloom indoors for me having been outside, but we are going to find out. I'm gonna just trim that up a little bit because I like to experiment, so we will see. So here's one that I dug up from outside. You can see we've got that not awesome red clay. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And I'm gonna trim some of these roots just a little bit so it fits in the pot better. So this is going in a much smaller pot, so it probably won't take much soil. That was probably too much. Tuck the roots down underneath. Okay. All right, that's looking good. That's about where I want it. So amaryllis is not the only bulb that you can force indoors. A lot of times this time of year, wherever you see amaryllis bulbs being sold, you will also see paper white bulbs being sold. I will caution you though that the paper white bulbs, they have a fragrance that is not everybody's cup of tea. It is, to me, it is just a very almost sickly, cloying, sweet scent, and I don't find it pleasant. So I never force paper whites despite the fact that they are so gorgeous. I've also forced tulips indoors, daffodils indoors, a hyacinth indoors. I think if that's it, that might be it. All right. Afternoon coffee. We are planting amaryllis bulbs for the holidays. If you have a question, you can drop it in the question bubble at the bottom of your screen. That way I won't miss it. And Von Swami 7 says that pot is chef's kiss. I agree. I love aged, beautiful pottery. What's interesting is all of these are the same pot. I bought them at the same time, and I don't know what's happening, but they have aged. Like these two have aged, and this one has not. And they've all been sitting outside since I purchased them. All right, so these pots do not have holes in the bottom, but because they are terracotta, if I were to overwater these, whatever surface they're on, the water would maybe leave a ring, so you got to be careful about that. That's why I have them, even though they don't have holes, I've got them on this metal tray. Okay, all right, one more. So this is another one I dug up from outside. You can see it is pushing out a little baby one. And look at those roots. Wow. Okay. See if those will all, I don't want to cut them. See if I can get them to all fit. Yeah, that works. This one might be set a little bit lower than I typically do, but I still think it's okay. Okay. And then, again, I'm going to do some of the moss that I just dug up from my side yard. I'm going to like just rip it how I need it because I want it to not cover up the bulb, but sit up high enough in the pot so people can see it. And again, I'm just gonna pull the grass out of it. There's not really any bugs that I've seen. I think I've seen one ant crawling on it. Okay, that's two. I'm gonna do one more. So see the difference between if I were to leave it looking like that versus adding some moss. Now, if you don't have a part of your yard that has moss that you can just go dig up, you can purchase the, like, I guess it's dyed. They've got some like dyed looking moss at the craft stores, it can be a little expensive. I don't think I have any out here to show you. All right, so let's some in here. Sometimes you kind of have to double it up a little bit just to get a nice full look. Okay, there's that. All right, what's left? I have two more from Lowe's. This is another Pinkolo. And I mean, these are looking really healthy. When I'm looking at purchasing, I don't want it to have already formed a bloom stalk, because I want to try and time it for them to bloom around the holidays. So I've got something blooming indoors around the holidays. So I'm looking to see that the bottom looks good, that the bulb is not squishy. And a lot of times if you're purchasing the kits, the ones that come in the boxes, I highly recommend opening the lid and checking, because sometimes I have purchased them, gotten home, opened it up, and the amaryllis, it has the stem, the bloom stalk has started curling around inside the box. It's never going to stand up straight, or it's even started blooming inside the box, and you don't want to pay for it to have already bloomed. So definitely, if you're purchasing the box ones, open them up. I have sat on the floor of Lowe's before and probably opened 30 or 40 boxes containing amaryllis bulbs, because that was all they were selling. They didn't have just plain amaryllis bulbs, or they had the ones with the wax on the bottom. The ones with the wax on the bottom are interesting. I have never grown one of those, mainly because I want to plant mine out in the yard, and I don't know what the roots are going to look like when that wax comes off. And the idea behind doing the wax ones is that you never have to water it, which can be really nice, especially if you're giving it as a gift to someone who's not maybe particularly adept at keeping houseplants alive. But yeah, I have just never tried that before. Okay. Perfect. I might need to go harvest more moss. I'm running out. And some of the pieces are better than others. Is that it? I definitely need to get some more. Not loving this piece. This piece looks different than all the rest. So let me see how that's gonna look. Yeah, that doesn't look good. All right, so I cannot finish this one. Take some of the dirt off the bottom until I go get more moss. But you can get an idea of how it's gonna look, and then I typically kind of just clean that up a little bit. Perfect. All right, so what am I gonna do moving forward? These are gonna come inside my house. I keep them on my kitchen counter. I put them near the windows. And what you will find is typically the leaves are gonna sprout first, and then you're going to have anywhere between 1 and 3 bloom stalks. Usually the ones from the big box stores, you're lucky to get 2 bloom stalks. If you order from a specialty supplier, you're going to get some really high quality big amaryllis bulbs, and you could get 3, I don't know, maybe 4 stems from those. So it's going to come inside. It's going to live in the warm house, which is going to cause it to start blooming. And I need to sneeze. Okay, it's gone. it's going to start blooming. When it shoots up its flower stalk, because it's got the blooms at the top and they can get quite tall, it's going to be top heavy, and you're likely going to need to provide it some support. Until you provide it some support, it is going to start leaning towards wherever the light is coming from. So if you've got a window here and you've got your amaryllis growing like this, you're going to see that as the day goes on, it's going to start leaning like this. So then you're going to rotate your pot so that it's leaning like this, so that the next day as it tries to go towards the light, it's going to move it back into that vertical position. And you'll just have to keep rotating your pot until you provide it some type of support. And again, like I said earlier, I like to go out and grab a twig, a branch off of a tree, and stick it into the pot in the soil, and then use garden jute twine to tie up the bloom stalk so that it looks pretty and natural. Okay. I think that's it. I don't see any questions in the question bubble. Let me just quickly check the comments. And I'm going to go, how long does it take from planting till blooming indoors? It's very dependent. It's anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. So that is why I like to start mine before Thanksgiving, before the craziness of Thanksgiving. And ideally, they're blooming the week before, the week of, and the week after Christmas. And different varieties are quicker than others. So I like to get a couple different kinds to stagger the blooms. If I got 3 of the same kind, they might all bloom the same week. And then it's kind of like, oh, that's a bummer. Hello from Denmark. Love the work. Simple and cute. Well, hello to you too. That's amazing. Okay. I am not seeing any. Is it okay to use regular potting soil? Yes. You can basically use anything. You can use straight cocoa coir. You can use cocoa coir mixed with a potting mix like I did. You can use straight potting mix. You can use garden soil. Compost. Using straight compost, the only thing you have to worry about there is the bulb getting too waterlogged, because compost without adding something like perlite into it can really hold moisture really well, and that's what you have to be careful of. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm going to try and do more lives as we're headed into the holiday season, because I know a lot of people kind of disappear during the holiday season. Nothing wrong with that. People are focusing on family. They're taking social media breaks. But for those of us that are still here and we're looking for a distraction from the crazy, it is my goal to be here and to still be doing a bunch of lives and putting out content. So I will be seeing you guys.